Thanks for joining us. I'm Megan Roberts. In the Northwest Territories, 3 MLAs are threatening to oust the health minister. The territory is currently in the midst of a healthcare staffing shortage, including at the main emergency room in Yellowknife. The MLAs say they'll force a confidence motion if progress isn't made in addressing these issues. Sarah Kamilowski joins us now with more on this story. So, Sarah, why have MLAs threatened this non-confidence motion for the health minister?
Well, the 3 MLAs who put out this press release are Kieran Testart, Richard Ajerikon, and Robert Hawkins. And they basically say that they want to see more action to address what they feel is a crisis in the healthcare system in the territory. They say that if the government doesn't act, they will. Hawkins says it's not about blame, it's about solutions.
There's a feeling from constituents that the nurses are overworked, the doctors just don't have the time anymore because they're overworked, the system is not responding. And then when they're sent to Edmonton with a CD-ROM on their medical file because the two systems don't collaborate, the citizens don't care in the sense of like how the systems communicate. They want to know they communicate and they want to see the end result.
The 3 MLAs are asking the territory to make 13 changes, including a few that have also been recommended by the NWT Medical Association. For example, passing legislation to allow AI tools to help doctors with paperwork, higher wages for full-time healthcare workers, and a culture change within the system with less top-down decision-making.
And I understand that doctors also have some concerns and criticisms on this issue.
Absolutely. Yeah, the same day that these MLAs spoke out, the Medical Association released a statement of its own, responding to what the health minister and the head of the health authority have said about those potential ER closures. It says doctors feel dismissed and like leaders are minimizing their concerns. It says there are still days this month when they feel that there are not enough doctors to run the Yellowknife emergency room safely and that the doctors are worried. They also pointed to the fact that Hay River had no physicians last week. The doctors also criticized Dan Florazone, who runs the health authority, for saying that these shortages are happening because some doctors are on parental leave. This is actually something he said in a CBC radio interview yesterday. The doctors called this inappropriate, saying that doctors are entitled to leave under their contracts and the territory should be planning for that.
So has the government responded to any of this then, Sarah?
Yeah, Premier R.J. Simpson has put out a statement. He praised Minister Lisa Semler and said that she has his full support. He pointed to her experience as a former nurse, working in healthcare management, as well as an Indigenous person who knows how hard it can be to access healthcare in NWT. He also said that these challenges with staffing shortages and retention aren't just a problem in the Northwest Territories. They're Canada-wide right now. And he says he and his cabinet will keep working to improve healthcare.
Okay, let's go back to that non-confidence motion then, Sarah. Do we have any idea of when this could be put forward?
So there's no timeline on that yet. Megan Hawkins says that right now they're just looking for action on these issues and they don't have any immediate plans.
Okay, thank you so much, Sarah. That's the CBC's Sarah Kamilowski live in studio tonight. Carcross RCMP are investigating a theft at the Yukon Suspension Bridge south of Whitehorse. Several items of significant historical and monetary value were taken. Police say thieves made off with an antique cash register, bar stools, and an antique RCMP Red Surge uniform. Also missing is a bison skull, carbon dated to over 42,000 years ago, and a significant quantity of change. RCMP say the break-in happened over the winter months. A Yellowknife jury has begun deliberating on a verdict for a former NWT teacher and coach. Neil Barry is facing charges involving 4 of his players between 2007 and 2011. Both the Crown and defense acknowledge there are gaps in testimony given how long ago the alleged incidents happened. The defense argues that the fact Barry testified shows he is credible. And while some of Barry's past behavior was inappropriate, it wasn't criminal. The Crown argues that Barry used his position of power to sexually exploit the boys. A northern grocery and retail chain has been targeted by scammers. The Northwest company says a fraudulent page has been circulating on Facebook that mimics the company's real posts. The page uses the name NWC Motorsports. The company's communications director says the page has been shared widely and has a lot of followers. It's working with Meta and the RCMP, but so far, no action has been taken by Meta to remove the Facebook page.
Essentially, what they were doing is taking all of the recent posts from our Facebook page, reposting them like, exact copies to their accounts. And then from their accounts, they're then sharing the posts to local community buy and sell groups.
The company reminds Nunavut it will never ask for payments over social media and urges people to double check before engaging online. After months of disruption, residents in Pevernatuck, Nunavut have a temporary solution to their water woes. A frozen water pipe has been blocking the flow of water in the community. It's an issue in other Nunavut villages too. And as Samuel Watt reports, those communities still don't have a solution on the horizon.
Dr. Marie Faye Gallino is tired of having no water at Pevernatuck's hospital. It happened again this week, and that's a hygiene concern.
If someone arrives bleeding, Perel and 300 milliliters of water isn't enough to wash.
Water has been an ongoing issue since March when the village detected a frozen pipe that connects the water pumping station with its treatment plant, so they've had to drive out of town to collect water, which slows delivery. But there's a fix in sight with a temporary pipeline being installed. Mayor Lucy Halingo is hopeful it will be operational later this month.
The crews from the KRG, they arrived, and right now they're working endlessly and tirelessly.
Some other Nunavut villages, including Kangaksujuaq and Kwaktuk, are also faced with freezes in their pipes. Kangaksujuaq's mayor Kialak Napaluk says their problems began in February. They noticed their tanks were filling up slower than usual, though parts of the pipeline have thawed.
We are keeping up with the demand by delivering water day and night, and thanks to the staff.
Kwaktuk is no stranger to frozen pipes. Theirs connects the water treatment plant with the lake it sources water from. But there are no pipes connecting to individual homes, so they too rely on water delivery. Johnny Uvaut, the village's project coordinator, says it's an obsolete system.
Communities further north of us have utilidors and water pipelines going to their houses.
He says his community's water problems won't ever go away until that's rolled out to them as well. Samuel Watt, CBC News, Iqaluit.
The Yukon Liberal Party has released details of its upcoming leadership race. The move comes following the sudden resignation of Premier Ranch Pillay. Candidate nomination packages are now available. The deadline is May 29th. Voting will happen in person and by proxy. The party uses a ranked preferential ballot, so multiple rounds of voting may be required to determine the winner. The leadership convention is scheduled for June 19th in Whitehorse. Prime Minister Mark Carney will name a new cabinet on Tuesday. He has previously said it will be made up of an equal number of men and women. The new cabinet will be sworn in at Rideau Hall by Governor General Mary Simon. Carney won the Liberal leadership on March 9th, and he and his first cabinet were sworn in 5 days later. It had just 24 ministers, compared to former Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's last 39-member cabinet. Carney has not confirmed the size of his second cabinet, but it may be slightly larger than his first in order to accommodate some newly elected MPs. Canada's unemployment rate ticked up to 6.9% in April as the U.S. trade war began hitting factory jobs. It matches the highest rate seen in 8 years outside of the pandemic. The manufacturing sector lost 31,000 jobs as tariff uncertainty loomed over the industry. The wholesale and retail trade sector lost 27,000 jobs. Ontario, the country's industrial heartland, saw the steepest decline among the provinces. Major auto manufacturing centre Windsor saw its unemployment rate rise to 10.7%. Pope Leo XIV has celebrated his first Mass as the new leader of the Catholic Church. He acknowledged the great responsibility that has been placed on him and said his election is both a cross to bear and a blessing. Margaret Evans reports.
The dawn of a new era for the Catholic Church. albeit within the confines of ancient walls and traditions. Leo XIV delivered his first Mass as Pope in the Sistine Chapel, where the day before his former fellow cardinals elected him. Part of the homily delivered in his native tongue, a reminder that he is the first American pontiff.
As we celebrate this morning, I invite you to recognize the marvels that the Lord has done, the blessings that the Lord continues to pour out upon all of us.
The election of a new pope on Thursday was greeted with great joy here, followed by suspense as people waited for his identity to be revealed, and with surprise when it was.
It's American Pope.
The first thing I could know more about him, I don't know anything.
69-year-old Robert Francis Prevost, now the 267th Catholic Pope, was born in Chicago, but he spent much of his pastoral life in Peru, where he's also a citizen. His focus on the world's downtrodden, compared by some to Pope Francis.
I think it worked in his favor that he had experience outside of America. He had a broader view of the world, and that he was also in the Curia.
Vatican reporter Juno Arocha Estevez says the choice of an American still surprised him.
That's always been the standard. A cardinal from a superpower wouldn't be pope.
At a press conference, Canada's cardinals were also asked to weigh in on the first North American pope.
Okay, yeah. He's a Catholic pope, not a U.S. pope.
Cardinal Thomas Collins, former Archbishop of Toronto, points out Pope Leo was chosen by men of the Church who represent countries around the world.
The key thing about him is that he's a man of great spiritual depth, and that, he spent many, many years in South America.
The Pope's formal investiture will take place later this month with a ceremonial Mass here at St. Peter's Basilica. Leaders from around the world are expected to attend. Margaret Evans, CBC News, Rome.
Chicago is beaming with hometown pride for the newly elected Pope Leo. He was born 69 years ago in the Windy City, and his upbringing is deeply rooted in its Catholic community. It's also where he launched his career as a priest. Ashley Tomlinson has more from Chicago.
To be from Chicago, it's so very special for us, and we feel it's such a blessing that he's from Chicago. Yay!
It's a thing of great joy to thank God that a person from us, our brother from the south side of Chicago, is chosen to be the leader, the shepherd of the whole world. So we are excited.
Catholic masses were held across Chicago today, including here at Holy Name Cathedral, the seat of the Archdiocese, which serves about 2 million Catholics. There's a real sense of pride with prayers offered for the new pope, an American from the south side of the city. Father Andy Medijevic, who met Pope Leo 9 years ago during a shared service, remembers him fondly.
He was very personable, very approachable. He was someone you can joke with and also have that serious, like, this is what we're going to do at this Mass. I was the Master of Ceremony, so I was able to tell him, okay, Bishop, you're going to do this, you're going to do that. And now, today, I can say I told the Pope what to do. So it's kind of unique. It's very honored. I'm very honored and humbled by that experience.
Robert Prevost was raised in a devout Catholic family, serving as an altar boy, and later earning a Master of Divinity at the Catholic Theological Union. Now it's come full circle, and he's a hometown hero. So much so, even the Cubs and Sox are jokingly fighting over who gets to claim him.
He's from the Southside Sox, and the Sox need all the prayers they can get. I'm a Cubs fan, but I've gone to Sox games as well. So I think what he should do is he should plan a visit to Chicago when they play each other, and we can then see who he cheers for.
And as he begins this new chapter at the Vatican, many people here hope Pope Leo will carry a piece of Chicago with him to the world. Asha Tomlinson, CBC News, Chicago.
The claims period for 2 classes in the First Nations Child and Family Services and Jordan's Principal Settlement is now open.
First Nations children who were removed from their homes on reserve between April 1st, 1991 and March 31st, 2022, and their caregiving parents and caregiving grandparents can now submit a claim for compensation.
There are free supports to help you fill out your form.
And mental health and wellness supports if you need them.
Learn more and submit your claim at fnchildclaims.ca.
Hi, I'm Vanessa.
Vanessa likes gymnastics. She loves soccer. She loves to ride her bike. She loves to stay at the park as long as she can. She shows me every day that she can do anything she puts her mind to. The WARAMPS is able to provide Vanessa with the devices and support that she needs because of the generosity of the public. Nothing will stop her. Any help that she ever needs is right there because of your generosity.
Thank you.
You're not down south anymore, Toto?
Tell me everything.
Deal. Is that Canada? Yeah.
I love it. Incredible.
Imagine how good the TV is gonna look now.
Isn't it ironic, don't you think?
Is it?
Is it?
See you there.
So, you want to watch the CBC News streaming channel? You can, wherever and whenever you want. Here's how to find us. We're on the CBC News app, on CBC Gem, and on your smart TV. Stream anytime, it's always free. CBC News.
In Nunavut, a new report suggests the end of a federal food voucher program would have significant consequences to food security in the territory. The evaluation was done by the University of Saskatchewan. It looked at the impact of the Inuit Child First Initiative in Pangnaktu. The program saw $5.4 million go toward food vouchers, which provided $500 per child and another $250 for diapers and baby formula. Pangnaktu's community wellness coordinator says the program is more important than ever due to the increasing cost of living in the north.
I hope we see more funding available for children because the cost of living, cost of food are increasing like each year or so or each month.
She says since the program ended, she's seeing children go hungry. One of the report's authors says she hopes other communities do similar evaluations of the program.
My hope was always that more communities would jump on the bandwagon of the evaluations of those programs within their communities so that together a whole bunch of, solid reports like that could hit the desk of somebody and say, hey, look.
98% of the people surveyed said they were unable to properly feed their children before the program. Since the program ended, a soup kitchen has reopened in the hamlet. A long-awaited daycare in Klondike, Nunavut is set to open its doors soon, nearly 7 years after it was built. Construction was finished in 2018. Now the new Simiga Suviga daycare is finally ready to open. It'll offer 24 spaces. The daycare's director says she's hopeful the center will provide some relief to working families. But they've had staffing and logistical delays, and there aren't enough spots available to meet demand.
We're only allowed 24 children in total, and our waiting list is well way over that.
The latest Nunavut Early Learning Action Plan said there were childcare centers in 4 communities that were built but couldn't open. It said Kingite, Johaven, Kugaruk, and Nauyat all had centers that weren't open. The report says that's because no community organization had come forward to operate them. Parks Canada is continuing conservation work at the SS Klondike and Whitehorse. Time and the territory's harsh weather have made preserving the vessel a challenging task. Virginie Ann has more.
It's impossible to miss the SS Klondike. It's right by one of the city's entrance. It's on every list must-see for visitors, so it's impossible to miss the ongoing construction around and on the boat. Parks Canada says this is all part of a restoration project. The 88-year-old boat has been dry docked since the late 1960s. It stands as a reminder of the gold rush era, when steamboats powered dreams up and down the Yukon River. Parks Canada says the restoration work is to keep these dreams alive for decades to come. That includes stabilizing the vessel, removing lead-containing paint, as well as incorporating more Indigenous history. More recently, 10 monitoring wells were installed. For this summer, Parks Canada says it plans to complete the restoration of the Atlin barge, which is dry docked near the SS Klondike. One thing that is new this summer, visitors can walk around, scan QR codes for video and audio clips for historical content. The site is open for visitors May 18th. Virginie on CBC News, Whitehorse.
The head of Skagway, Alaska Tourism Office says she's hopeful Yukoners will come to visit the Alaskan port town this season. Skagway tourism operators met with Yukon tourism officials at their annual meeting Thursday night to extend an olive branch of friendship. Explore Skagway has been meeting with its Yukon counterpart for the past few years to find ways to work together. The director of the Skagway Visitor Department says the Trump tariff war with Canada shouldn't get in the way.
For those people who are willing and able to come visit us, obviously we are there and willing and waiting with open arms. I know there's several businesses in Skagway that are actually offering discounts or the Canadian dollar at par. Skagway Marathon's offering a special discount code for marathon runners from the Yukon. So I think it's something we're conscientious of.
Today is the beginning of cruise ship season in Skagway. This year, it's projected that 1.3 million passengers will enter the town. Many of them will find their way to Carcross Yukon on bus tours or on the White Pass and Yukon Route Railway. The trade war and U.S. President Donald Trump's 51st state threats have had a chilling effect on Canadians traveling to the U.S. But what does the cross-border tension mean for musicians on the road? As Magda Gebrselassie explains, some are now putting off their touring plans south of the border.
Canadian musicians shine brightly at the Departure Festival, a reimagined Canadian Music Week. But there's also talk of cross-border tension. This as some musicians across the country are canceling their U.S. tours.
I just felt like for my own safety, crossing the border right now is not a good idea.
I found it easy. With the current U.S. political climate, Leslie Hudson worries being non-binary, queer, and Canadian could make them a target. Hudson canceled their U.S. appearances after hearing about this BC woman who spent days in an ICE detention center and this Halifax folk duo stopped by police in Ohio.
I could have probably kept the tour, but I would just have been stressed the entire time that I was going to be pulled over by someone for nothing, except the fact that I had Ontario on my license plate.
It's a cocktail of fear, concern, and confusion. You know, I think there are...
The president of the Canadian Independent Music Association says they're hearing from many concerned artists. While some trans and Indigenous musicians are canceling U.S. shows, he says most artists are continuing to tour in the U.S.
For many Canadian-owned music companies, Canadian artists, the U.S. market is essential. It's their biggest one.
There's some Canadian artists that have massive fan bases in the States, and they're paying their bills from revenue from that.
Country artist Robert Adam supports those still touring in the U.S. while making the call not to do the same. Adam says it's because of previous negative experiences in the country, the current political climate, and concern from others.
There are straight Canadian musicians that are afraid to go over the border because they're scared that their visas are going to be taken away. Ready to go.
For now, Adam is focused on rocking stages here in Canada, the UK, and Japan. Magda Gebrselassie, CBC News, Toronto.
Delta Airlines and Korean Air have announced they will buy a combined 25% minority stake in WestJet from Canadian investment firm Onyx. The deal is worth $550 million US. Under the arrangement, Delta would acquire a 15% stake in the Calgary-based airline, while Korean Air would buy a 10% share. After the deal closes, Delta says it plans to sell a 2.3% stake in WestJet to its joint venture partner, Air France, amounting to $50 million US. A new gardening initiative is coming from the Yukon Food Bank Society. It's launching what it calls a unity garden. It's based on the Victory Garden programs of the First and Second World Wars, which encouraged people to grow their own fruits and vegetables at home. The Unity Garden is designed to help Whitehorse residents take charge of their food security and build a more resilient community. The food bank in Whitehorse is offering 350 free seed kits to help people discover the benefits of growing their own food.
We're providing seed kits to anybody in the community who needs it. You don't have to be a client of ours to access it. In the seed kit is potatoes, carrots, beets, lettuce, and radishes.
Seeley says those vegetables are easy to grow, so they're perfect for beginner gardeners. The kit also comes with instructions. They'll be available starting on Monday. Now let's take a look at your weather. And that is Northbeat for tonight. For news anytime, go to cbc.ca/north. We leave you tonight with a look at some pretty stunning images. This is what it looks like to kite ski across Great Slave Lake. This is Eric McNair Landry and Clementine Bouche. They recently traveled like this from Yellowknife all the way up to the tip of North Arm in one day. McNair Landry knows this sport well. He has kite skied across Greenland and the Northwest Passage. It's pretty incredible. Maybe some weekend plans if you're as talented as this. I'm Megan Roberts. Thanks for watching and have a great weekend.
You lied to me. You played me like I was one of your marks.
I could be on the other side of the world right now.
You've gone soft. You need to be focused on the long game.
Who has more fun than us?
everybody. The only person you can count on is you, yourself, alone.
Stream anytime. CBC News.